All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a really big deal for Nigeria, a massive change to the tax system coming in 2026. And trust me, this is something that's going to touch pretty much everyone.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the major shakeup, then get into why the system needs to change in the first place. After that, we'll look inside the new tax shift, figure out how you'll be affected, and wrap up with what the road ahead looks like. Let's get to it. All right, first up, a major tax shakeup. Let's get into what's happening. So, this is the question you really need to be asking yourself. Are your finances ready for what's coming? Because whether you're an individual, a freelancer, or running a business in Nigeria, a pretty fundamental shift is heading your way. And yep, that magic number is 2026. That's the year it all goes down. We're talking about a huge nationwide tax reform that's set to kick in, and it's going to completely reshape how the country brings in its revenue.
Okay, so why all the fuss? I mean, why is such a massive change even necessary? Let's dig into the problems that led to this whole reform.
I love this analogy because it just hits the nail on the head. You know the old tax code? It's like driving on a road that's just riddled with potholes. It's bumpy, it's confusing, it slows everyone down. This 2026 shift is basically an attempt to tear all that up and build a brand new, super smooth highway for everyone. Okay, now let's look at the numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. This chart shows something called the tax to GDP ratio. It's basically a measure of how much tax a country collects compared to the size of its economy. Look at Nigeria. It's sitting at just 6%. Now, compare that to Kenya at 15% or South Africa at a whopping 25%. You can literally see the massive gap Nigeria is trying to close. What this really means is that there's a ton of economic activity happening that just isn't getting taxed. And that's exactly what this reform is designed to tackle.
And these points right here, they're the real culprits. For way too long, the country has been leaning heavily on oil revenue, which, as we know, goes up and down like a yo-yo. Then you have high rates of tax evasion. Let's be honest, it's a huge problem. The rules are so complicated and confusing that it's just easier for a lot of people, especially in the massive informal sector, to stay off the books entirely. The whole system for collecting taxes is just inefficient. So, the new plan? It's meant to take on every single one of these challenges.
So, enough about the problems. Let's talk about the solution. What's actually inside of this 2026 tax shift? Let's break down the key parts of the new policy.
Okay, you're going to hear this term a lot. Tax base broadening. It sounds technical, but the idea is actually super simple. This is the absolute heart of the reform. It's not about jacking up tax rates for the people who are already paying. Nope. It's about expanding the net, so to speak. The goal is to bring more people, more businesses, and more services into the system so everyone is chipping in their fair share.
And here is a perfect real-world example of what that looks like. Think about all the digital stuff you use, your streaming subscriptions, maybe some software you bought online from a company in another country. Under the old rules, those things weren't really subject to VAT, the value-added tax here in Nigeria. Well, that's all changing. The new rule says, hey, if a Nigerian resident is using it, it gets taxed. This is a huge move to catch up with how we all live and work in the digital age.
So how are they going to pull this off? Well, the whole strategy rests on three big pillars. Number one, simplify. Get rid of the complicated mess and make filing taxes way easier. Number two, digitize. This is a big one. They're building a national digital platform for everything tax-related. And number three, enforce. Once you have all that data in one digital place, you can use analytics to spot who's not paying and improve compliance. It's a complete top-to-bottom modernization.
Okay, so we've talked about the why and the what. Now for the part you've probably been waiting for. How is this all going to affect you? Let's take a practical look at the impact on different groups. And as you can see, nobody's really sitting this one out. The changes are going to ripple through the entire economy. We're talking about salaried folks, small and medium businesses, the backbone of the economy really, the big corporations, and even foreign investors and Nigerians in the diaspora. Pretty much everyone is going to feel this shift in one way or another. Let's make this real. Imagine a freelancer. Let's call her Fatima. For someone like her, the income tax brackets could see a big adjustment. Now, this is just a hypothetical example, but look at the table. Under the 2026 system, she might actually pay a lower percentage on her first chunk of earnings. That's a win. But the rate for the highest earners might go up a tiny bit. The goal here seems to be creating a more progressive system where your rate gets higher as you earn more.
Now, what about a small business owner? Let's say a shop owner named Chinidu. For him, this is kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, there's some really good news. A single, simplified tax return, and maybe even a lower tax rate if his business's turnover is below a certain amount. But, and this is a big but, he's got to use the new digital tax system. No more paper. For some, that's going to be a steep learning curve. The government is betting that the long-term efficiency will be worth it. Oh, and one more thing. With everything being digital, it's also going to be a lot easier to enforce the rules, so penalties for not complying will likely get stricter.
All right, last but not least, let's zoom out and look at the road ahead. I mean, this is a massive national project. How are they actually planning to roll this thing out? So here's the roadmap. We're actually already in it, with public awareness campaigns kicking off. But circle early 2025 on your calendar. That's when the beta testing for the digital platform begins, and that is absolutely critical. You can't roll out something this big if it's full of bugs. Then, the final laws get passed later that year, all building up to the big day, the first quarter of 2026, when the whole system goes live. It's a tight schedule for sure.
And I think this quote really sums up the big picture vision. The official line is that this isn't just a money grab. It's about something bigger, building a more transparent, a more equitable, and frankly, a more modern economy for every single Nigerian. It's about creating a system where everyone feels like they're part of it and contributing fairly.
Which, of course, leaves us with the million naira question, doesn't it? The plan is incredibly ambitious, and the goals are crystal clear. But making it work? That's the hard part. It's going to mean overcoming huge logistical challenges and, most importantly, making sure that regular people and small business owners aren't left behind. So, will this massive shift actually build that stronger, more resilient Nigerian economy everyone is hoping for? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.